Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chef Frank Coloma. I'm the chef of Gastronome AZ. We specialize in fine dining at home, course menus, private cooking classes, and just overall bringing food and connecting it to people. On behalf of the Antibacteria cafeteria, I would like to thank them for allowing us to come cook with you for this evening. This evening, we're going to focus on just kind of cooking techniques at home, and oftentimes with my private cooking classes, the question that I get is, how do I bring fine dining into my home? And although we love our restaurants, we love going out, we have our favorite restaurants and chefs here in the Valley, sometimes it's just nice to have a really nice meal at home in the comfort of your own kitchen. There's no stress. It's kind of communal with you and your date kind of cooking together, or with your kids. So tonight we're going to focus on 3 separate courses, starting off with a salad. So this salad is super simple. I like focusing on the flavor profiles as well as the texture part of it. This is going to be a salad of pears, golden and ruby beets, and arugula, kind of coming together and focusing a few good recipes. One of the ingredients that I am focusing on is going to be noble bread. This is noble country loaf. If you haven't had noble bread before, I mean, I highly suggest go check it out, go try it. You can see it in most restaurants these days, as well as farmers markets, but I'm going to be featuring this bread for kind of like the crouton and crunch aspect to it. So just like any salad, I'm going to go ahead and start off with a vinaigrette. So vinaigrettes should have kind of like, you know, a little bit of acidity, a little bit of sweet. This one's a little more simple because I don't think that you need to muddle up a vinaigrette with a lot of ingredients that are unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on a little bit of acidity. I have a little bit of honey and, of course, a little bit of oil to go along with this. So I'll start off with my honey. And this is to taste, so you could taste it, see what you think. See if you have that really nice flavor profile of that acid and that sweet. And now just kind of using a whisk. Some like to use olive oil. I like to use grapeseed oil. We're just going to go ahead and do a quick emulsification. And if you don't have anyone to help you, just kind of like one of those tricks that you could do with this is going to be take a wet towel, just kind of make a ring out of it, and just kind of hold it right there, and that way it doesn't go anywhere. So now I can keep whisking in my oil, and I don't need a lot of it because this is going to be a pretty small salad, but of course you can adjust and make a little bit more. And that's pretty much it. So now the only thing that I have to cook off is going to be the noble bread. So in the pan I could use butter or I could use oil. I'll go ahead and use that same grapeseed oil. And I've cut this bread into small, kind of like a bâtonnet. It's kind of like a rectangular in shape. And then I'm just going to go ahead and toast it. So as I'm toasting the bread, I'm just making sure that there's enough oil to accommodate, because some ingredients, they soak up that fat. When we cook with fat, we always want to make sure that we have a nice even sheen on it. And what it does while we're cooking is it keeps things from sticking as well as distributes heat. So if I didn't have that fat in there, what would happen is it would start to burn. That's what I don't want. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this, making sure that I get all the sides nice and golden brown. So now that the bread is toasted, I can go ahead and remove it, place it on a platter, and now I can start thinking about my components of dressing the salad. So I have my beets already cut. Fun thing about beets is we have golden, we have ruby beets. We could use different types of knife cuts, or I could use different tools to cut them in different ways. Like my ruby beets are cut into nice rounds. I left the golden beets nice and whole or cut in half. just kind of like a fun play on texture and height. Slice, you can roast even. You could slice on a mandolin or using a knife, cutting it nice and thin, incorporating that into your salad. But now we can kind of start putting this all together. With a salad, you never want to overdress it, because what's going to happen is you're going to wilt it, and you just want to make sure that it's a nice, even, kind of light gloss on the greens. So here's the vinaigrette, just kind of going over it, again keeping it light. And just lightly dressing it, making sure we season in between. And now we could start thinking about plating this. So here's my toast, my gloved hands, all right? And I'm just gonna kind of plate this kind of whimsical, just kind of some of the colors and some of the textures, make sure that all of those pieces come into play. And now we're just going to finish with some of this shaved pistachio. And this is the goat cheese, golden beets, noble toast, and arugula salad. Okay, so for the next course we're going to do, this is going to be our entree. We're going to focus on fish. So we are going to do a pan-seared salmon with an oven-roasted maitake mushroom and, of course, a potato pave. So let me talk about a few things real quick. Maitake mushrooms, they are in season right now. Here in Arizona, you can get them in most places, and they grow in clusters. Now, what I did was I just kind of cut it into quarters, toss it with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, and roasted it at 400 degrees just to get a slight char. For this application, I'm just going to heat it up and sear it. So the nice thing about this is you could do a lot of the cooking and prep ahead of time, and all you have to do is just kind of finish it and warm it up, put sauces together, and you won't have to spend too much time in the kitchen starting from scratch. So that's the little spiel on the maitake mushrooms. The potato pave, this one's definitely time consuming, but this is several layers of russet potato sliced super thin on a mandolin. And what I did was I shingled them, basically kind of like shingles on a roof, a little bit of heavy cream, garlic, Parmesan cheese, and thyme, covered it, baked it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 2 hours until it was fork tender. So from here, it's a really cool thing because everybody likes potatoes. I love mashed potatoes and French fries and things like that, but when you apply different cooking techniques as well as knife cuts, it really does add a lot more depth to it, even just with the different textures. So we'll finish that with a sear. So once it's at a golden brown, carefully flip it. And we're gonna go ahead and get some color on the opposite side as well. So once this is done, we could remove this, set it off to the side. You can keep this warm in your oven, about 200 degrees, just to keep it warm. But these are already done, got some pretty good color on it. And now we can finish the mushrooms. So using the same pan is kind of fun because every time you cook with the same pan, what you develop is fond. So fond in cuisine, especially when it comes to protein, is kind of think about it like little tiny flavor particles. If you don't burn the flavor particles, what you could do is you could add those particles to the rest of the kind of building off of it, and I could fortify a sauce that you'll see right at the end. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up with the mushrooms. And remember, these are already cooked because I did roast them ahead of time. So all I'm doing is just heating this back up. And now I could remove it. So now I can start working on the salmon. So salmon is going to be just very simply prepared as a pan sear. So just like anything else, season it with salt and pepper. We're gonna get a nice sear and a nice crust on the flesh side of this. So again, a little bit of oil in the pan, enough to coat, and then you're gonna take your seasoned side first, and then we're gonna go in and sear that down. Don't forget to season the opposite side. We're gonna let that sit for a few minutes. Give it a quick shake, because if your pan's hot and your oil is hot, what's gonna happen is the protein that you're searing is not gonna stick. So a lot of people worry about that, but the trick is making sure that the pan and the fat is hot. So we're gonna let this go and get a nice little crust on that. All right, so after searing for about 3.5 minutes, we got a nice golden brown crust. Be careful when you flip. What you want to do is you want to tilt the handle of your pan toward you so that we can consolidate all that oil, so that when we flip it, fish doesn't land in the oil and splatter back at you and then you get burned. So again, tilt toward you. Take your offset or your fish spatula and just kind of give it a quick flip, kind of like that, like super quick. All right, now we're going to sear the opposite side for about 30 seconds, and we're gonna base this out with a little bit of butter, a little bit of thyme, just to kind of finish it. One of the biggest problems with salmon is a lot of people tend to overcook it, so we really wanna serve this at a medium rare, medium at most. So if you wanted to cook it a little bit longer, you could finish it in the oven at 400 degrees. This is a 6-ounce piece of salmon, so I would say in the oven for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes, but if you don't mind, you know, that medium, especially if it's a really good piece of salmon, then finishing it in the pan would be just fine. Okay, so the last part of this is gonna be the sauce. So we're making a standard beurre blanc, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna feature Cotino salsa verde sauce, or Cotino verde. So usually we'd have a whole bunch of aromatics. We would have shallots and garlic and herbs and things like that, but I'm just basically gonna make the base with the white wine, butter, and lemon juice. A little bit of heavy cream to keep it thick, but also I'm gonna use the flavor profiles of the Cotino verde to kind of brighten this up. And this is gonna be the sauce for my salmon. So in that same pan, we got that same fond that I was talking about. So those little pieces and bits of salmon, that's kind of like little flavor particles, we're going to release that by deglazing with a little bit of white wine, and we're gonna add this into our sauce. So we wanna release all that, a little bit of wine, rule of thumb, use the wine that you drink. So you don't need a lot of it. And then what you can do is just kind of scrape off all that fond on the bottom, and it comes off pretty easy. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to deglaze this and reduce it until it's almost dry. French call it au sec, and what that means is basically you're concentrating all that flavor. All right, so evaporated. Now we are going to add a little bit of heavy cream. This is about 3 tablespoons. Bring that up to a boil so that it starts to thicken our sauce. We're gonna wait till the end to season it, because we do have a lot of flavor in the actual Cotino verde. And now from here, I'm gonna take a few tablespoons of butter and swirl that in. So this is a base for a beurre blanc or a white wine butter sauce. So now I'm gonna cut off my heat, let the residual heat continue to cook this. Finish with my Cotino verde. So this would be the pan-seared salmon with potato pave, roasted maitake mushrooms, and the Cotino verde beurre blanc. And this would pair really, really well with the Northeast IPA from Heston's Brewery here in Phoenix. All right, so after the entree, of course, we have dessert. So I don't have an oven with me, so I'm just gonna kind of explain what this dessert is. I'm not a fan of desserts that are overly kind of complicated. I like very basic stuff. I love brownies, I love ice cream, I like things like that. So this is a chocolate Bouchon. So a Bouchon, made really popular by Thomas Keller. A Bouchon is basically a really decadent chocolate brownie. Different types of molds or thimbles. They're supposed to represent kind of like a wine cork, which is kind of like the fun thing about it. The recipe that you have makes a dozen Bouchon. So it's basically a batter. So we have all of our dry ingredients, all of our liquid ingredients. And if you have a stand mixer at home, you're mixing the dry into the liquid to make a really thick batter. So this is super easy. Have your kids help you out. You could do this up to a day ahead of time so that all you have to do the day of is bake it. The pretty standard way of serving this is gonna be with powdered sugar. So I'm just gonna kind of dust it. Mix. So I took strawberries at 250 degrees, tossed them with a little bit of oil and roasted them for about 30 minutes. You kind of get like this concentration of berries. This is a simple syrup, just water and sugar. And all I'm gonna do is drizzle just a little bit of it just to give these strawberries a nice little sheen. If you have ice cream at home, you could do that. If you have whipped cream, you could do that as well. But again, for something like this that's so rich and so decadent on its own, you really don't need it. And these are the chocolate bouchons with powdered sugar and slow roasted strawberries.
I'm Brian Helton, owner and brewer at Helton Brewing Company here in Old Phoenix. All right, so what an honor to be a part of this program, for these guys to put this together for us and bring local, all together like we're doing. So I want to talk a little bit about the beer and what we're thinking with what the chef prepared for us tonight. The first course with the salad, you want to start with something that's going to accentuate the vinaigrette and the softness of the flavors of all of your vegetables. When it comes to pairing beer and food, you want to look at it as a dance with the flavors of the dish. Not that the dish will overpower the beer or the beer is going to overpower the dish. Two, you want to progressively go with the flavors that are going to progress with your dinner. So the first one that we would do tonight with that salad would be our Helton Valley Venom Pilsner. The Pilsner is low alcohol beer. It's got hardly any hops or malt character, so it's fresh, it's clean, it's highly effervescent. One great thing about carbonation in beer is it'll help cut through the lipids or the fats of the salad dressing. So people love to say that wine pairs with food the best. It truly doesn't. I love doing the sommelier dinners against the Cicerone, and it's usually half and half at the end of the night. But the carbonation brings a third dimension to the table that wine does not. So by having something crisp, clean, and very low hop profile, you're not going to interfere with the subtle nuances of the vegetables of the salad he put together. So the second course, the main course, we're going to move to some characteristics of the dish that he brought to the table that we're going to get scientific on. The little bit of peppers that he brought in with the sauce is kind of bringing heat to the game. Well, anytime that hops are actually added to the beer, such as an IPA, the hazy, then it kind of accentuates the fruit character of the peppers without accentuating the actual heat. So the Northeast IPA is brewed with Citra, which is synonymous with being this nice tropical citrus note, and also Belma hops. And Belma is kind of new to the game for the last 4 or 5 years. It has a unique strawberry characteristic. So when you put them together with a nice hazy beer, it's nice and mild. It's not extremely hopped. IBUs are only at 65. So we're not going to interfere with the delicate nuances of just the salmon. And once again, the carbonation of the IPA is going to cut the butter and the sauce that he put together. The Beurre Blanc sauce and the citrus notes are going to go very well with this. So I would highly recommend trying the Northeast when you guys prepare this dish at your house. And of course, last, we're going to talk about the boysenberry sour. Sour, of course, is fruited with boysenberry. So the strawberry aspect, the boysenberry, that makes sense, right? They're going to complement each other. But let's look at the contrast. The contrast on the dish in this beer is going to be that extreme heavy cake His Bouchon being heavily dense, very fudgy, so to speak, where the sourness is going to totally contradict that. And that's once again getting into the science of beer and food pairing. And the effervescence, the carbonation of this beer is going to once again lift the fattiness of the butter that was in the actual Bouchon, leaving you a nice, crisp, clean palate, so your next bite is going to be even more enjoyable. So these are the 3 beers we would recommend. Thank you guys for partaking in this experiment, and see you on the next time. Thank you. And I want to say a special thank you to Antibacteria Cafeteria for putting this together. When he asked me to be a part of this project, I was honored. And once again, it's all about bringing awareness to local people. So thank you, and vote with your dollars.
Silence, who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they're crying with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are fighting. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Oh. Another mother's breaking heart is taking over. When the violence caused such silence, who are we mistaken? It's the same old theme since 1916. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are fighting. What's in your head? In your zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Oh. guys, we are Jane in the Jungle coming to you live from Helton Brewing, brought to you by the ANTIBACTERIA cafeteria. This is our song called Lucky 7. Midnight is on the Vegas girls, on the corner they own the world. Had some bills and we were warned, going strong that Longhorns. And you look in the way I remember from the first night. Will it be the same? Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Driving circles around the town. Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Driving circles around the town. Some men with velvet suits put me in the dark like a cheap slide. Dingy lighting in a joker's couch. Laid it down and hit the jackpot. And you're feeling the way I remember from the last night. Lost in the game. Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Driving circles around the town. Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Driving circles around the town. It's all or nothing, paid for some loving and got nothing better to do. In the end we'll be over, the night will get older, and someone's always left to lose. It's all or nothing, paid for some loving and got nothing better to do. In the end we'll be over, the night will get older, and someone's always left to lose. It's all or nothing. Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Lucky 7 will save us now. Got no money, we drank it down. Driving circles around the town. It's all or nothing, all or nothing. It's all or nothing, all or nothing. It's all or nothing. Midnight eyes on the Vegas girl. They own the world. Had some bills and we warned. Thank you. This one is called Unicorn. There's a pink army outside, begging me to leave, so I can be free, so I can be clean, so I can be anything I wanna be. We're racing unicorns, deciding what is best. Take the bullet for pride, take the bullet or hide, take the bullet or watch all the other unicorns die. We're waving our flags and they're choking our necks. We're tired as hell, let's let the facts get checked. We're over. It's playing over. We're not red, we're not blue. I'm sick of this party. Ripped by the thorns, the sound of the horns and we're just unicorns. It all seems to be so singular, wants to be popular, vulgar, like a bipolar disorder. But what about the women and children? That's where we live in. Is it really a man's world? I am a woman, not a mother, but I have love for my brothers, and it hurts when I cry, 'cause I'm human, and I don't wanna lie, but I have blood on my hands like you do too. We're waving our flags and we're choking our necks. We're tired as hell, let's let the facts get checked. We're over. It's playing over. We're not red, we're not blue. I'm sick of this party. Ripped by the thorns, the sound of the horns and we're just unicorns. Let the glitter fall, 'cause after all it's said and done, we are the stupid ones, the stupid ones. We are the stupid ones, and we are wrong, and we are wrong, and we are wrong. We're not red, we're not blue. I'm sick of this party. Ripped by the thorns, the sound of the horns and we're just unicorns. Red, we're not blue. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this party, Oh, oh, oh. And we're just unicorns. Thank you. Thank you so much. That one was called Unicorn. This next one is the year anniversary of this song. It's called Animal. This is actually really weird to say, but this song was actually written during the Australian fires of last year. And someone showed me this photo of a kangaroo that had burnt literally to a crisp, but you can see its skeleton, and it was smiling, and it was like, just really hit me. And this song is about that photo and how it was just, a terrible thing that happened, but it was smiling. She's in fox on a broken string. Play the music, let us hear her sing. Round them up, racing towards the doors. Tobacco breath, pound your chest, count to 10 before we do it again. Mountain baby with the wind that blows. last excuse for drugs while you're homesick. Found you lying on your bathroom floor. Your demons dark, pray for love before you're done with it. Oh, you either hunt to be hunted. The world cries, then you get what you wanted. The witness on your deception. Hey, 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 hey. You either hunt to be hunted. The world cries, did you get what you wanted? The witness of your deception. Hey, hey, animal. I don't wanna see the mold and rust. You like a rose blooming in the dust. Fall into ash, skies are left behind. Your light, it shines so bright. I find it hard to forgive each day and breath we live will fly away. You either hunt to be hunted. The world cries, did you get what you wanted? The witness of your deception. Thank you. I wanna be your bird. Light me up and I'll be a flame. Like an ember that shines. Got my heart up on the line. I got one hand on the reins. Darling, tell me you feel the same. Ooh, as the sun starts to fade, as you look in my way. For tonight, I surrender. I'm what you're looking for. I'll give you more. I'm at your door tonight. Tell me what it is that you want. I can try to fit in your hands like a cigarette. You want me grab, blowing in the wind. I got one hand on the reins. Darling, tell me you feel the same as the sun starts to fade. As you look in my way. For tonight. You said the other day, why don't we go separate ways? We were lost in it all, feeling so small. I counted on my hands, trying to do just what I can. There were things I don't know, with nothing to hold. Happiness was unsolicited. I didn't go far. I'm lost where you are. I'm lost where you I had a lot of things to say, but when you turned and looked away, I lost all my words, thinking it will end how it should, like floating on a drain. Nothing ever seems to be what you had planned. Still can't understand. Happiness was unsolicited. I didn't go far. I'm lost where you are. I'm lost where you are. I didn't go far. I'm lost where you are. I'm lost where you I didn't go far. I'm lost where you are. I'm lost where you are. I didn't go far. I'm lost where you are. I'm lost where you are. Thank you so much. All right, I hope we have time for this next one because this is a special treat that we have for you as our last song. So I don't know if you need to check, but we're good. Okay, so this is our song called Trouble that, yeah, you can hear it on Octane, so check it out. go, running your circus in circles. The time has expired. Better start the show. Rock me, say, trouble finds me now. Call me your lady. Look what we found. Did you think you'd let me on? Drinking at the tavern down the street where we meet. Rock me, say, trouble finds me now. Call me your lady. Rock me, say, trouble finds me now. Call me your lady. Look what we found. So, pretending I'm alone, standing inside the spotlight. Darling, it's dark in your eyes, they're reflecting in your light, burning inside the spotlight. Darling, you're burning tonight, burning tonight. Rock me, say, trouble finds me now. Call me your lady. Look what we found. Rock me, say, trouble finds me now. Call me your lady. Look what we found. Thank you so much. We're Jane in the Jungle, and we will see you next time.